All right, guys, good evening. It is 9:22 p.m. on Tuesday, April 30th, 2019, 9:22 p.m. New York time. Hope everybody's doing well. And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to make this before the news came out. I was a little bit busy, but I did want to review and take a quick look back at the New Zealand dollar employment news that came out about just a little under 3 hours ago. And we'll take a quick look at that. We'll take a quick look at the other news that came out earlier today during the New York session, and also look ahead to very brief look ahead to tomorrow. So I have my Forex source terminal pulled up here, and we had the New Zealand news come out here, and the main takeaway was right here. Employment change for the first quarter, they were expecting 0.5%, which would have been an increase over the previous quarter of 0.1%, and it actually contracted, negative 0.2%. So that's not good. The participation rate actually fell. This is like basically the percent of the working force that's actually employed. 70.9 was what was expected, which would have been the same as last time. That actually shrunk. So even though the unemployment rate stayed the same, actually ticked down 0.1%. Considering that the participation rate fell, this is really a washout. The only probably, I guess, bright spot was average hourly earnings did increase. They were expecting 0.8 and went up to 1.1 versus a prior 1.0. The quarter over quarter numbers fell. Cost index fell. On balance, not a great report. And so, with the Kiwi being as weak as it's been, with the RBNZ becoming more dovish at their last meeting, and then the CPI number missed, I believe, last week. So if we jump over to Forex Live, so again, the RBNZ is going to meet on May 8th to talk about rates, and as they note in here that this data has boosted expectations for a rate cut. So, with the RBNZ more dovish, like I said, and CPI numbers not being great, so the next thing they're going to look at is employment numbers, and it wasn't great. Now, last night we had a business survey, ANZ Business Confidence last night. That actually came out a little better than expected, so that was a bright spot. But on balance, the New Zealand dollar has been obviously very hurt, so we'll see how that affects things. This is my Forex factory. I'm just going to refresh this. So last night here's the business confidence last night. It still wasn't great, but it was better than last time. And then here's the employment number that we just had. Okay, so that's, so let's keep an eye on things going forward. In terms of the Kiwi, and we want to take a quick look at the charts. I'll drag over my my trading view here. So this is here's the Kiwi dollar. This happens to be the 2-hour chart. So it was marked down. Here's this candle here was the news, this big red candle, and then we pulled back immediately, and now we've just been kind of drifting around here. And so this is not unexpected. What it's doing right now, because again, we're in the Asian session, it's very quiet, and so kind of that initial spike, and then everything kind of goes to sleep. So let's see what happens when the New York session starts up again. But this is the Kiwi dollar, and certainly here we are on the daily chart. Certainly looks like it probably wants to go down again. Again, nothing fundamentally has changed, and if we look at our little awesome oscillator here, which I made that video on, we still are making new lows on the oscillator. So pretty confident that this will continue down, in terms of these Kiwi pairs. And they all pretty much look the same. Here's the Kiwi yen, again on this 12-hour chart. We go to the 1 hour, again, we see the big, they all look pretty much the same, so I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Interesting one maybe be the Aussie Kiwi. So the Aussie Kiwi, you can see this big run up, and now it seems to be going up again. I want to zoom out just a little bit here. And, of course, we know the Aussie Kiwi, if you've been watching this, the channel, had been going down. This is the daily chart, had been going down since last August, down, 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 down. And then we finally put a bottom in at the end of March. Have been going up ever since. We had this move up. Pretty much looks like a nice little 5-wave trend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I've got a little ABC correction back to the previous wave 4. So to me, this looks really bullish for the Aussie Kiwi to continue up. So I've actually taken a long on that, and we'll see what happens. I just have my stop right under here, and if I'm wrong, I'll be out. So now the other thing to look at, I want to go back to my chart, my calendar here for a minute. So this morning we had Euro GDP flash from Spain, from Germany, and then the Eurozone. And you can see they all came out above expectation. This was a really welcome view about, from the Eurozone, considering how much it's been beat up and how dovish it's been. Now, I don't know if this really fundamentally changes anything, but at least in the short term, I think this will support the Euro. Again, I don't know if it really fundamentally changes much about the Euro. So let's go to look at a couple of these Euro pairs. And now, so let's look at the Euro Kiwi now that we've got the Euro, strengthening a little bit. So, okay. So let me clean this chart up here. Okay. So here on the 2-hour chart, so let's go to the 1 hour. You can see the Euro has been been marked up all day. And then, of course, this big candle was the Kiwi news, sent the Euro up. And so, it's going to be interesting to see. Now, I can see this move up being a wave 5 that we had a 1, 2. Actually, this probably might be a new, now that I look at it again, a new uptrend now, because potentially what you've got a 5-wave trend in place right here. My computer is really lagging. I don't know why. Okay, this actually is, it's a little bit behind me here. Sorry, guys. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now let's go down a little bit. Be a little easier to see it. So we've gone for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we came back and we retraced back down to here, and now we're moving up again. So in combination of the weak Kiwi news and the positive Euro news from today, I'd keep an eye on the Euro Kiwi as potential setup. Obviously, we went up when the news came out. Now it's pulled back a little bit, just like all the Kiwi pairs. It's pulled back here, and so this will be an interesting look when London reopens tomorrow. Okay, so what else do I want to look at? Let me go back to my calendar again. And earlier during the New York, right at the beginning of the New York session this morning, we had Canadian GDP come out, and it pretty much came out as expected. Actually, a little bit worse, 0.1%. I don't know why they don't have a. Let me go to my Forex source. I didn't even look at that. Let's see if we can go back here to when that news came out this morning. Okay, so we're expecting consumer prices 1.5 versus 1.2 expected. I don't even see the GDP number listed here. That's interesting. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I got to scroll down a little more. Okay, so I guess there was no expected. So it was negative 0.1%. Previous was 0.3 positive. So it was negative, quite a bit negative. There was no expected number, I guess. The only thing they have is the comparison from the last month and what it actually was this month. And so pretty typical, the Canadian dollar just kind of chopped around a lot. Here's the Canadian yen. And it initially went down on the news, and So I'm going to clean this one up too. And okay. So initially we had some spiking down in the news, and then it turned around, went back up. So the market kind of shook it off, and this was probably because of oil prices. Will probably strengthened up a little bit today. So again, the Canadian dollar just continues to confound a little bit. I didn't take any of these. I wasn't actually around my charts when it came out. But I think the Canadian dollar certainly has proved to be a little bit of a difficult currency lately to try to trade. And, we definitely saw this spike down. But I mean, look, we're still in an uptrend, so you got to respect the trend. So that was it on the Canadian. A little bit of a disappointment. And then tomorrow, we are going to have I'm really disorganized tonight, guys. We're going to have the FOMC at 2 p.m. during the mid-afternoon New York time, which is not a great time for news to come out because of volatility and liquidity. That time of day is very low because it's after the London close. But we have the FOMC and Fed funds rate and press conference. And then later in the afternoon, we have Bank of Canada Governor Poloz speaking. Now, this one could be interesting because he's going to speak, and I think he is talking about some, the economy and before the Standing Senate. Yeah, so he is going to be obviously talking about the economy and monetary policy with who he's talking to. So this is going to be interesting now because they'll have the GDP numbers there, and they'll have all the other data that's been coming out lately, and he did speak this morning too, and I think that's also what got the Canadian back going again after that poor news. So it'll be interesting to see what he says tomorrow, and if that keeps the Kiwi supported. But with the FOMC, there was a preview posted here. And I was just looking at that story before. Yeah, so here's the preview, and I thought there was a couple interesting things in here. So basically what they're expecting, of course, is that no change in the rate, and they're thinking that the press conference will be the most important part of this, no change in policy, but expecting a refinement of forward guidance. Basically saying that they might say that although they're not going to necessarily cut rates, that they feel maybe they increase rates too quickly. So I don't know how that's going to actually play out in the market. As it says here in this last bullet point, such measures would be purely operational without implications for the policy stance. However, the Fed may have to do a good deal of explaining on this front, especially if the IOER cuts are involved. It will be interesting to see what they actually say tomorrow. So, be prepared potentially for a lot of volatility because of A, the time of day, and B, depending what gets said, not only in the statement, but at the press conference. So I will definitely be sitting back and letting this play out, and more than likely not taking a trade anytime during that period from when the announcement comes out through however long it takes them to get through the press conference, probably for at least that hour between 2 and 3 o'clock New York time tomorrow, and then we'll see. But even then, it's just the time of the day. I just don't like taking trades in the afternoon like that, but because it's only the New York session. It's not as bad as Asia, but it's still pretty quiet. So it'll be interesting to see. And of course, we followed that up with non-farm payroll on Friday. So I'll probably make another video about that, around Thursday this week. I'm not going to discuss that now, just for the sake of time. Plus, I haven't had time to look at it. So that's what's coming up, guys. So again, we had GDP and Euro news and Kiwi news today. And again, the Euro news was good. The Canadian news was bad, but then I think Governor Poloz kind of stepped in and gave some good comments, so that refreshed the Canadian. We had relatively poor Kiwi news, and that's going to just, I think, keep the pressure on the Kiwi and potentially see these downtrends continue, although they're quiet right now. And then tomorrow with FOMC statement and press conference, it'll be very interesting to see if they throw in the towel and say, hey, maybe we raised rates too quick, and here's what we're going to do about it, which is probably nothing except not make any more rate increases. So, and so it'll be interesting to see how the market takes that. Do they actually take it as, hey, the market's really strong, but maybe it's not that strong, and they sell it off? Or maybe they say, oh, everything's cool, and we'll just keep buying the dollar. So it'll be curious to see, to me, what the reaction is to the market, although I don't know if we'll have a good feeling about that prior to the end of the session, before the next trading day on Thursday. So that's it, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on this week. And again, I will try to make a video potentially tomorrow night after FOMC to see, make commentary about that, and maybe look at the Canadian again, check in with the Euro and the Kiwi, see where they are 24 hours later, briefly, just looking at some charts, and then perhaps on Thursday I'll make a preview for non-farm payroll. So that's it, guys. Hope you all have a great evening. Make sure you like the video, share, comment. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel on YouTube here if you're just finding it for the first time. And I appreciate you guys watching, and hope you learned something. Keep an eye on your charts technically, but make sure you at least have some clue about what's going on fundamentally in the market. It's very important. And you don't need to be an expert, and you don't need to pay for services. If you do nothing else, go to forexlive.com, and it's a free real-time blog. They're really excellent. And that's honestly, if that's all you have, then you'll be better equipped than most people. So, all right, guys. So that's it. Have a great night. We'll talk to you all soon.